Real estate. I've had a lot of guests talk to me, like Morgan Housel and others, that have a sort of mixed view on whether real estate
Yeah.
is a good investment. What's your thoughts on it? Should I be investing in real estate? But my brother said something to me when I was 25. He said, Steve, if everybody is playing the game, the returns probably aren't great from it.
Goes back to sex appeal, too much capital going in. Look, Case Shiller, the brightest people in real estate will say if you really account for maintenance and upkeep, that real estate has not outperformed other asset classes. The reason I like real estate is that, one, in the United States, it's very tax advantage. There are very few asset classes you can lever up 4 to 1. 20% down payment. I can't buy $100 worth of Apple stock for $20. So it's huge leverage. The interest on that is tax deductible. In addition, if you sell a home, and this is true in the US, I don't know in the US, I don't know in the UK, if you buy a home and sell it hold on to it for at least 2 years, you get a $250,000 tax deduction, $500,000 for married. So if you have, for example, any ability, get to know the homes in your area, find a nice home or a rental unit that you can maybe rent out or upgrade, maybe you're handy. To do that every few years and take advantage of the tax deduction and then roll into something bigger, and that is forced savings. You know that mortgage payment is coming every month. Actually, the majority of savings for baby boomers right now is in their homes. It's the equity in their homes. Now, unfortunately, there's some bad things. We haven't improved housing permits as quickly as we should, which has made it more expensive for entrants. Young people can't afford homes. The average home's gone from $290 to $420 through the pandemic in the US. And if you look at interest rates, it means the average mortgage payment's gone from $1,100 to $2,300. So it used to be 2/3 of America could afford a home. Now it's 1/3. A whole other talk show, but I just did a TED Talk on the war on the young economically. But real estate is a very tax advantage industry. It is forced savings. Also, there is some, I think, psychic value, which I think is important to a home. You start investing in it, fixing it up. It feels like, I don't know, there's something rewarding about it. But to what your brother said, when everyone's trying to buy homes in an area, that usually means it's probably getting overvalued. And like any other asset class, it can lose money. But the reason I like it is because it is a form of forced savings. People, generally speaking, will make that mortgage payment or try and figure out a way. Now, you want to make sure that not more than 40% of your income goes into a house. Otherwise, it's just going to be your anchor. It's just going to be a source of stress for you. And I think a lot of people grow up thinking, I have to have a home. And so they just become over levered in their home and they become kind of house poor. They own a house and that's it. And they can't afford to do anything else.
And they might be able to move then. And you talked about geographical opportunity when you're young.
That's right. You get tied. You get tied down, especially if your home goes down in value. But I still think in the US at least, real estate's the most tax advantage. And if you own commercial real estate in the US, you can depreciate it 2 or 3% a year. You can't depreciate a stock 2 or 3% a year.
Is there someone that should and shouldn't buy a home then, in your view? Is there a certain demographic or age or person with a certain talent that should and shouldn't buy a home?
I would say in general, if it's a home, if you think that you're not going to be able to hold on to it for at least 7 years, if you hold on to a home for 7 years, you should be able to ride out most economic cycles or a economic down cycle. I think there's some wonderful things about renting. You can slam your keys down and leave. If you're planning to move, if you don't have somewhat reliable sources of income, a mortgage is probably a tough thing. I don't know. I think home ownership. I'm talking my own book a little bit here because I've made good money in real estate. I've really enjoyed it. But I think it's situational, and it goes back to that notion of having a kitchen cabinet of people who can advise you on that asset class. Unfortunately, that asset class has become so expensive that the quote unquote American dream of owning a home has become somewhat of a hallucination, if you will, or a fantasy for a lot of young people.